So it's with great pleasure I welcome my friend, Juanita.
Thank you so much. Fantastic, Tyler, and thank you so much for having us and being the venue host for the 2018 Power Women panel discussion. I'm so excited tonight. Welcome, everyone. I feel like I'm amongst friends. Yes, it was just feel like we're, and thank you to the men who are here, although I do feel like we're about to have a girlfriends chat this evening. And I'm also from America, in case you didn't hear that. And I'm from the South in Tennessee. So I say that because I've been told that I sound like a scene out of Steel Magnolias sometimes. So I say that I'll lose the first 5 minutes of everything that I say with people trying to figure out, where is that draw from? And what is that? So I only have 5 minutes to give a welcome, so I have to get past it. But thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for supporting what we do at Dress for Success. And I have a housekeeping in order, because this would not have been possible with some wonderful, outstanding sponsors. So I want to thank our sponsors tonight, which include, obviously, Salesforce, Lloyd's, HSBC, ISG, the Law Society, Collect Plus, Allegiant, Textile, Lawson's Dry Heels for the wonderful wine that we've all enjoyed, Adriana Papel, who is our dress sponsor, and they sponsored my outfit tonight. So if you're interested, Google it. John Richard, Annie Hawk, It Cosmetics, Halsey, and I have to get that right, Halsey, and DP for Business. So thank you to our wonderful sponsors for this evening. I won't belabor it too long. You know, at Dress for Success, what we do is all about equipping women to be the best version of themselves. And so I thought it was very fitting for tonight's theme for International Women's Day this year being Press for Progress, because what we help women do every day is to press toward their version of progress and success. Part of the ability to make an impact and influence in the world and the work environment that we are in is being in the game. And so we help women, and we like to say, you know, disadvantaged women get back into the workplace. We give them interview attire, interview clothing and training and ongoing support. And we like to say it starts with the dress, but it's more than the dress. We dress women from the inside out. And I think probably the more important thing that we do is the interview training and the ongoing support, because it's more than just what you wear. Now, when you look better, you do feel better. Clearly, we blend fashion and philanthropy quite nicely. In case you can't tell, I like a little sparkle, and I love a little fashion. But I think the most important thing that we do is provide the network of support that women need. None of us succeeds in a bubble. Everybody here had someone along the way to help them get to where they needed to be, and we want to be that person. So you'll hear a little bit later on tonight about how you can continue to help women beyond tonight and after the discussion that we had. But a couple of years ago, I was thinking about, and when we started this affiliate, this new affiliate, I thought about we needed a fundraiser, and yes, it's a wonderful fundraising event, but I just thought that there was a gap that we needed to create the opportunity not only to celebrate extraordinary women, ordinary women doing wonderful, inspirational things within the workplace and within the community, and we had that on Tuesday, our award ceremony. How many of you were there? If you were there, didn't we have a wonderful time? I don't know about you, but I had a fantastic time. And so we wanted to create the platform to celebrate women, but also to have what is important, the dialogue about some current issues and subject matters that are really important. And part of what we do in the process of empowering women every day, our clients, is having the dialogue about some issues that are important to them. So I thought it was very fitting to have this event. We're here in our second year, so excited. And I won't belabor it any longer. We have a wonderful moderator for our panel this evening. I'm going to read her bio, but she's really more of a friend, and I feel like I could introduce her without it, but I won't. So the moderator for our panel tonight is Angie Greaves, and we're so excited to have her back. She was with us last year. She's also an official patron of our organization now in our charity. And she was recognized last year at the awards for her work in radio. We're pleased to have her back. She is Angie Greaves of Magic FM. She's a moderator for our panel discussion tonight. Angie has a long-standing career in radio and now hosts an afternoon program on Magic 105.4 FM and also breakfast on Magic Soul, and has a massive audience of dedicated listeners across the country. With a voice described as the smoothest and sexiest in the business. See, even when I say that, it doesn't have the same effect. Clearly, she's dominating, because when I say smooth and sexy, it doesn't even have the same effect. But she has been known as having the voice that's the smoothest and sexiest in the business. Angie entertains listeners on their commute home and the school run. Through Angie's Book Club, she offers book reviews and Meet the Author events, including authors such as Jackie Collins, J.K. Rowling, Sue Townsend, Jermaine Jackson, and Karen Brady. And she also encourages greater literacy amongst children through regular reading groups in her local area. In 2011, Angie was featured in the launch video for Sound Women, a network committed to celebrating the achievements and raising the profile of women in radio, in the radio broadcast industry. I promise I read this 5 times and it went really smooth. But join me in welcoming Angie to the stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we today? Good, good, good. Can I just say, first of all, it's really... Am I talking quite loud? Sorry. It's really encouraging for me to be part of Dress for Success, and I thank Juanita and Susan Denmead, where is she? Always hiding, don't hide, and all of the board members. It was really lovely just to be approached, to be a part of this, and I just feel it's something that's more than just providing clothing for women. There's something more to this organisation. I was saying to Anita earlier, I don't just feel that we're sitting here having a drink and are going to listen to some talk. There is something quite emotional and quite deep going on in here, and it's great because I think it's also about growth. I also think that at this specific time, it is the chosen women who have been appointed to move forward, to raise the voice of women. Does that make sense? Maybe 5, 10, perhaps 20 years ago, raising the voices of women could have come from a completely different emotional bank of emotions. It's not fair, why is this happening, you know. But I think we're all in a different place right now, and I think that even from a year on, I think we're all equipped with the knowledge and the passion and the tools to complement the work that our male counterparts do. We're not just rushing in and saying, listen, we're here now, you guys have to move. It's not about that at all. And I remember saying that last year, and I feel that we've even moved on from there. I feel that a lot of men and women are more open now to saying, okay, maybe we can do this differently. What are you saying? Bring what you want to the table and share what you feel can complement the workplace, the home, you know, a number and a manner of things. So thank you so much for asking me to be the moderator this evening. I'd like to call on our panel members. The first lady is the wonderful Caroline Smith. Come along, Caroline. Make Caroline feel welcome. I'll give you my mic. Caroline is the head of oil, gas and petrochemicals execution team at Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation Europe. That is a serious title, isn't it? And I will let Caroline tell you more about what she does when we have the other panel members up here. The other lady that I would like to call to the panel is Liz Dimmock. Let's make Liz feel very welcome. Liz is CEO of Women Ahead and Moving Ahead, and that's a specialist development diversity organisation that works globally to create more inclusive organisations and cultures. And Liz will definitely be telling us more about what she does later. Adia May, come along to the stage. Adia May is here from the US of A. Now, she's a double threat. I don't quite understand why the word threat, but Adia holds a joint JD MBA degree from the University of Iowa, College of Law and University of Iowa, Triple School of Management, respectively, having earned her Bachelor's of Business Administration with a focus on finance from Howard University. Give this woman a round of applause. And last but definitely not least is Jenny Garrett. Jenny is an award-winning coach and trainer with over 10 years' experience in running global business. She's written an amazing book, and it's an Amazon bestseller, and I can remember interviewing you about this book. It's called Rocking Your Role. So it's about rocking your role as a woman, and I'm going to let Jenny tell you more about what she does. Can you make our panel members feel very welcome? So this evening, it's about pressing forward. It's about bringing your best to the table. What I'm going to do, first of all, is ask you, Caroline, how you got into the role you got into, because you didn't start in this role. Tell me about your journey to get to this role. And are you the only woman in your role where you work?
I think I might be pretty much the only woman in my role in my industry. I work for a Japanese bank, Japanese, finance, and oil and gas. None of those are particularly women-heavy. I will admit the whole thing started when, desperate for a job at university, I went to a careers fair. No idea what I wanted to do. I'd applied to KPMG to be an accountant and was rejected on the basis of a psychometric test for being insufficiently passionate about accountancy. So, okay, one thing crossed off the list. Went to the careers fair, no idea. Someone jumped out at me and said, "What degree do you do?" I do physics. "Do you like Excel spreadsheets?" I'm like, okay, you're at a careers fair because you are hiring. I'm at a careers fair because I need a job. Yes, I like Excel spreadsheets. Actually, turns out I do. So I went to work for this very small company who do project finance, and much maligned as the private finance initiative and PFI might be, fundamentally, it is people lending money to build things that people need. And the UK went a little bit over the top with it, but it's still massive in the Middle East for power stations, water. It's how most of the world gets most of their basic infrastructure. And I discovered that this was actually a pretty cool industry to be in. I liked numbers, I liked finance, I liked that I can walk around and point at the old people's home in Ealing, the leisure centre in Wolverhampton, and the police station in Swindon, and know that I had something to do with those. I ended up, as so many people do, with a horrible boss in one of my jobs who refused to promote me. And so I left. And I took a big plunge out of infrastructure into oil and gas because they needed a person who was really good at Excel spreadsheets. And so it turns out that finding a thing you are really good at and being really, really good at it can get you quite a long way. Because I just kept being good at Excel spreadsheets. And it turns out that in project finance, they really, really need that person. And all of a sudden, by just ploughing ahead, by just keeping going, and just being there all the time, getting stuff delivered, getting stuff done, when they needed someone to run a new team, and one of the men was having a political argument somewhere with the Japanese management, they were like, well, you know, if you don't take this job, we're going to give it to Caroline. And he was like, what? But I've just spent 3 weeks telling you that I don't want this job. Okay, Caroline can have the job. So it was a lot of right place, right time, but a lot of just being resolutely very good at what I did and delivering time after time and not sitting there hiding in a corner. And all of a sudden, they handed me 5 staff, $3 billion of loans, and said, go. And apparently, I'm now in charge of this.
And I was going to say, was it the unexpected that was presented to you that propelled you?
I think so. And I think it was I still have, like so many women do, massive imposter syndrome. I've been thinking all week, oh heavens, really, I'm on this panel, oh crikey. And Jess, who's my friend from our rowing club, strangely, and we can talk all about rowing later, put me forward for this. She's on the board of Dress for Success. She's like, no, you're amazing, do it. But so many of us probably think, oh, I don't think I'm that extraordinary. And if you spend your whole time thinking that, you never do anything. And even if you feel it, take the opportunity. If someone says, here's a job that is a massive step up, they think you can do it, or they wouldn't be offering it to you.
Then you must plough through.
You just say yes
Absolutely.
and go for it.
Thank you, Caroline. Yeah. And we will come back to you. We will come back to you. Liz, founder and CEO. Now, I like this. Women ahead and moving ahead. That sounds to me as though there's no, when I say goal, there's no stop sign. You're constantly moving. Tell me about your role and how you got into it.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me today. The story started with a focus on gender diversity, with women ahead. But quite quickly, we learned and we evolved as we had to work more broadly and inclusively. Even though in Women Ahead, 2/3 of the mentors and mentees that we work with, that the mentors are men, we realised that to create real change, that you need to work more broadly. And ultimately, to work in one area, a rising tide lifts all boats. So organisations were saying to us, we don't want to stop there, and that was music to our ears. So actually, our mission has moved much broader to focus on inclusion and diversity. So that film from Salesforce was just music to my ears. Yeah.
Give me a little bit more about your role. I want to get, move me ahead. Let me know what you...
Well, to your point, for me, it wasn't about finding what I was good at. It was about finding purpose. So I spent 16 years in corporate careers, a kind of ambitious and naive graduate at KPMG, moved to small and large consultancies. I was global head of coaching at HSBC, always loved looking at people and what made us tick, how we could optimize our performance or acknowledge our potential and optimize our performance. But ultimately, as we know and research tells us, that you reach a point where you want more purpose, and it's not necessarily about working maybe in a banking environment where you're coaching and working with certain people. But when the crisis happened there, we didn't have so much money to spend, obviously, in people development, so we turned to mentoring, using our own people to develop our own people. So that triggered something that was quite significant there. But it was in 2012 that I wanted a goal beyond work, and I cycled the Tour de France as an amateur woman. And that was something, as I'm not an athlete, I'm someone that would ride my bike at the weekends, and was quite curious to set myself a goal beyond work, because it had always been about work. And I subscribe to the growth mindset, the belief that talents aren't fixed, that we can ultimately, if we work hard and we dedicate time and attention, we can develop new skills and traits. So I learned how to cycle, and cycle a lot. And I cycled the Tour de France stage for stage, so 3,500 kilometres in 21 days. But there is no women's Tour de France. It's one of the largest sporting events in the world, and there's no women's event. And to me, that bothered me, and I looked to the governance of sport, and I looked to what is it, and in something that I had been quite gender blind to, less than 1% of commercial investment goes into women's sport, less than 6% of media coverage, and we don't see as many role models as we would wish. And as a young girl, I looked at male role models in sport. But I've been a bit of a tomboy, so I would kind of just have a go at anything and whatever. But that was the kind of fire that set up. I wanted to use what I'd learned corporately to bring about change. And because I believed in mentoring, putting two people together that wouldn't normally meet, which is what you are all about. To me, mentoring is about having someone that sees something in you that you so often don't see in yourself. I think we're so often blind to the things that we really embody, that really make us shine. And it's, I think, mentoring that can do that so well.
I find it really interesting. I mean, we've only had 2 contributions so far from the panel, but a lot of the time, and I'm going to assume that's the same with yourself, Adia, and also Jenny, it's not necessarily your job that drives you. It's something that comes out of that. So, as you were saying, it's not necessarily your career, but your purpose. So let me move to you, Adia, with your many, many titles. What was your job that sprung the purpose for you?
That is it. Okay, we're on. So I find it interesting that everything that is happening in terms of my space that I operate in now was ignited when I was about 9 years old. I always had the desire to become an attorney. I did not understand that space would be in the entertainment space until I was in law school. But I was clear on the vision and the purpose. Not that the purpose of why I'm here is to be a lawyer, it's much greater than that, but I was clear on my vision for myself. But the spark happened in law school where I decided I don't want to just kind of push papers for corporate entities and non-creative people. I want to work in a creative space, and I had to figure out how to get there. I had no idea. I'm from the south side of Chicago, a proud Chicagoan, and it wasn't until I, in law school, decided, you know what, I'm gonna research entertainment law. And I literally Googled entertainment law, and conferences came up, and one of them was an organization called the Black Entertainment and Sports Lawyers Association, and they had a conference in Montego Bay, Jamaica. Yeah.
I would have gone.
I was broke in law school at the time, and I was like, I have to go because I have to make the connection. I have to be present. I was really intent about being present anyway. So I charged my credit card, flew out there, and kind of the rest is history. But that ignited my the flame to be an entertainment lawyer, to see that in the flesh. That is an incredible opportunity to see something that you want to be. It just touches you in a way that.
And in being an entertainment lawyer, would you say that your day is made up of legal acts or dealing with people?
Both. I think it's a people business. I'm a service provider, and I take that very seriously, but not just providing service. I'm big on educating my clients. I try to really educate them on what we're doing here, because it's a business and they're a brand, and the better brand they establish, the better it is for them down the line, the journey, right? I'm on a journey with them. That's how I really see it, right? I'm providing that that push in terms of getting them to the next thing and helping them accomplish their dream, right? So I'm in the dream business. I would describe my role as that.
Thank you, Adia. And finally, definitely not least, we're talking to Jenny Garrett now. Now, Jenny, you were a working mother, and were inspired to write a book aimed at women rocking their role based on some of the findings that you had in your position at work. So let's expand on that.
Yes, yeah. So I had a corporate role, and actually I was encouraged into coaching. So lots of similarities between Liz and I. A colleague who's now a really good friend came into my office one day and just said, "Where next? Where are you going? To get a bigger budget, bigger team elsewhere." And at the time, my daughter was very little, and I said, "Actually, I'm quite comfortable here. I don't want to be having long commutes. This works for me." And she said, "Well, what about actually training people, standing up in front of groups of people?" And at the time, I wasn't very confident. I said, "No, I could never see myself doing that," something that I do all the time now. And then she said, "What about coaching?" faculty come into your office, they come away motivated and with action. You could be a really good coach, you're a really good listener. To this day, I'm not sure if she was just maybe flattering me, because the faculty, I had an L-shaped office, and you could come into my office and hide, basically. No one knew where you were. And I think half the time that's exactly what the faculty were doing. No one knows where I am if I'm in Jenny's office, and I'll get a pep talk at the same time. But I went off and engaged in this coaching program, and I found it personally and professionally transformational. It just kind of peeled all the layers of who I thought I was off, and made me think about what was important to me and what was really important to me, not what people had told me should be important to me, not to live other people's lives or other people's expectations, but to start thinking about what I really wanted. And marketing, something that I had absolutely loved and adored, became so unimportant compared to having just one-to-one conversations with people where you could really guide them or guide their thinking, help them think about what's important to them, help them have light bulb moments for themselves that could change their world. So I went on this training program, went back to my organization, said, I want to be a coach. And they said, well, you're a marketing director. You're not going to be a coach, but you can coach on some of our programs. And I said, okay, I'll do a bit of that. But I was stuck. I was frustrated, and I was, I don't want to be doing this anymore. And I needed to work financially. I couldn't just jump up, take a big leap and hope that I'd get some clients. So I got some coaching myself, and my coach said to me, through coaching, we came up with the idea of me going down to 4 days a week in my corporate job, and on the 5th day, trying to get some clients and seeing if I really did like this thing, or if I was just, in love in the early phases of love and was going to fall out of love with it. And we set a target, how much I'd need to be making for me to be able to take the leap. And I did that, and within a year, I took the leap to be freelance and start my own business. And that was 12 years ago now. So I went from just providing one-to-one coaching, and I say there's definitely no just about it, but then on to providing leadership development. And then on that journey, I came across this term, female breadwinner. And I thought, I'm a female breadwinner. Because when I started my business, my salary jumped. And my husband, who'd been an accountant, decided to follow his passion and work with disaffected young people. So his salary went down. And so on paper, that shouldn't matter. We've still got 2 salaries. It's not a big deal. But when I read the article, I realised that I was doing lots of things wrong, really. We weren't talking about money. I was earning the money, so I was making decisions with my money. All the things that happen. You go to a restaurant, they give you they give the man the bill, don't they? What do we do? Slide the credit card under the table, make a joke, I'm paying today, but never go back to that restaurant again. So, those things all came to me, and I thought, is it just me? Am I the only female breadwinner? Because I talk to my girlfriends. We talk about everything, everything, but we never talked about that. And I just realised it was something that people didn't talk about and that I wanted to do something about. So I ended up doing some research, long story short, and ended up writing Rocking Your Role, which is a combination of women's stories around being the main earner and my coaching experience of how to actually celebrate being the main earner and really make it work for you, as opposed to some of the things that happen, which are having resentment, guilt, shame about being that. When I wrote the book, 1/5 of women were the main earner. 1/5 of mums were the main earner in their home. Now it's 1/3 of mums in the UK who are the main earner in their home. So we have to learn to make this really work for us and rock our roles in life. And as a result, now I do lots of talks for women, coaching specifically for women, retreats specifically for women, and actually I go into organisations like MasterCard I've been working with for the last 2 years and run programs specifically for women about how to move up the ladder, but in a holistic way. So they're thinking about their personal and professional life.
If I can just ask any panel member, please feel free to answer this. We've all heard a story of somebody working in a corporate position or having what they believed was their role, and then through some kind of enlightenment and experience, something changed. Can I just ask, feel free, any of you, when your salary changed, I'm assuming you're all in relationships, yeah? So when your salary changed, whether it went up or down, did it impact your relationship and how you represented yourself as the female of the relationship? I'll leave you on that, Jenny, because that's your business. Right. Liz, you look like you don't want to go there.
Well, no, actually, because I am now. I got engaged last year.
Oh.
I'm getting married next month, so I'm very excited about that. But actually, we only met about a year and a half ago. So all the way through the journey of setting up my organisation, I let go of the corporate salary. I'd been training professionally in cycling to cycle around the world, which didn't happen. So I was broke and I decided to follow my purpose, but without the security blanket, without a partner, and I just went for it. Slightly crazy, a conventional Middle Eastern mother thought I was absolutely mad. Why are you not getting married and having children? What are you doing? But I really knew that I was quite unhappy in my corporate life, so I wanted to go for it. And actually, I realised that you can get by with a lot less than you think you do. And I kind of moved in with my parents for a year, aged nearly 40, and just committed to it. But increasingly, I work with and see women who have made that change. So Dame Helena Morrissey's book, A Good Time to Be a Girl, talks so much about the role reversals and shifting of roles and how men want changes too. And actually, we are role models to men, because actually negotiating maternity leave, negotiating better work-life balance arrangements is something that we've had to pioneer and do. And so often in mentoring, it's men are now saying, how do you do that? I want paternity leave. I want to be a stay-at-home dad or to share parental responsibility. So I think there's just huge social changes that are going on, and it's making for a better society as a result.
I think it's really good that there are more stay-at-home dads now, and they're not ashamed or they don't hesitate in admitting it. I think that's a really positive thing. Caroline, tell me about your shift in earnings, because obviously you deal with lots of money.
Yeah, mine conversely went up. And at the time I was single, and I was single for a long time, because it turns out that genuinely there are an awful lot of men who appear to be terrified by successful women who earn more than them and don't know what to do with it in a relationship.
Is it that the men are terrified, or they don't know how to communicate the fact that the woman earns more? Is it something to be scared of?
It's nothing to be scared of, particularly if, like me, I like to share my money. I like to spend it on my family, on my now boyfriend, and to enjoy it. But I think there's a lot of men that I came across and a lot of men that I dated who were stuck in the traditional gender role that they should earn more. And it's like my university boyfriend when I was 21 who turned to me one day and said, oh, you know, when I'm out at work and you're at home with the children. And I was like, excuse me, what? I mean, we ended up breaking up because I beat him at badminton and he couldn't handle it. He sulked for 2 days on a holiday with my parents because I beat him at badminton. I was like, no, this is not going anywhere. So I've been incredibly lucky that I've now been with my boyfriend for coming up for 2 years, and he is absolutely fine with it. And he's like, what is not to like about being with... Not like that. What's not to like about being with a smart, successful woman who's good at what she does? This is not threatening. This is something to be celebrated. I'm like, yes, I'm keeping you. And not in the monetary sense. But it's hard. And it's something that, for those of you who were there on Tuesday, you would have heard Anne Robinson talk about it. Not enough people talk about money. It's so stigmatized. It's so British, stiff upper lip, we just don't talk about it. And we get in these situations where it becomes an issue and where people have certain views of it. I really wish people would just be way more open.
Ida, can I come to you? And then I want to just ask, if you've got any questions, feel free. And I actually want to ask the audience a question about money as well. But Adia, let's come to you on this. Adia, let's come to you on this money issue.
You know, as a quote-unquote successful woman, I think it's just a matter of finding the right man, right, who fits you and who understands you. And it's not anything threatening. It's not anything, it has nothing to do with what you're doing. It has everything to do with who you are. So that, if he connects with that, then, and you have the money discussion, obviously you have to talk about it, but that becomes less of an issue if he really sees you for who you are and not what you do. And so that is one of the things that I have kind of had to work through in dating. I'm single right now, but in dating and in relationships, that he understands who I am as a woman, as a human, right? And living in this world that we live in, and not who I'm servicing or what I'm doing. That's less important.
Can I ask ladies in the audience, if you want to put your hands up, you don't have to. If you're in a relationship and you earn more than your partner, anyone? It's quite a significant number. Do you talk about money to your partner?
Yeah, all the time. My husband is not in a bad way. My husband's 7 years older than me. He's now hit 60. He closed down his business for quality of life. He's a freelance photographer. He's really nice events, big weddings. We had really nice holidays. But also, he got to a point where I didn't want him to be working 40 odd years of his life. So you have to discuss things in a really rational, very kind way, because a marriage isn't about one person being kept. It's beyond the contract. I've been married 26 years.
You go, girl.
Unbelievable. Great. So we have some
advice later.
we had conversations, and I wanted him to be happy. And I know that when I reach 60 and I have a pension coming in, I will also retire. But it's, there are compromises to be had. But when you are, when one person earns a little bit more than the other person, you can't help it. I will go online and think, oh, I like that blouse, I'll have that. Because I think I don't have to ask anybody, I'm making my money, I'm having how I can. But I would say, if I dial back 21 years, when I was on maternity leave and I wasn't earning money, I would then have asked. And that's the difference, is that I think women generally, if they're earning less, will feel they have to ask. But men don't have to ask. Sorry.
No, you're not going on. Can I ask of the men in the room who want to admit, if you want to, do your partners earn more or less than you? Do you want to share that info? Hi, young man at the back.
Not my girlfriend, but my ex.
Is that why she's your ex?
I was earning more, but then she started slowly going up and reached a point where I just couldn't reach. And obviously my ego got bruised.
No, that's really open and honest to admit that. Right.
If a woman is not particularly a physiological term, it's more female versus woman. The woman is a social construct, so the man itself, it's an idea that I need to be that.
Right.
You're just getting lost in these, because it's confusing. What is that? What is a man? What is a woman? How do you relate to that? So yes, it's a problem.
Isn't it interesting that we're here aiming to talk about being the best that we can be, and somewhere along the line it always comes down to money, doesn't it? I love the way you say, you don't have to ask. Does that empower you because you don't have to ask? Would it disempower you if you did have to ask? There's a lady at the back nodding. If you don't mind, I'll come to this lady at the back. Does it empower you to not have to ask?
Absolutely. It doesn't even have to be perfect. It could just be simply things as parents. Like if you're, say for example, if you were living at home versus being by yourself, if you're not earning and living at home for any reason, spending money makes it, you have to ask permission.
So are we defined by our salaries? Because Liz said that you were feeling, obviously you moved back to your parents, but there was a time when maybe it was great not having responsibility.
Of course, earning money gives freedom, it gives choices, it gives opportunities, and it's a tangible acknowledgement of your success to a point. And I say that really carefully. But actually, having no money, living with my parents, and it wasn't. I was financially supporting myself, but I just wasn't able to pay for a house. I thought I was okay because I had a higher purpose. I knew I was determined. I knew I wanted to get there, and I was happy to make those sacrifices. But I was in that journey at a point in a suboptimal relationship with a person that wasn't aligned to my values. He wasn't a good person, and actually, I think there probably was an element of you need to be independent financially, I think. And I was at an event this week, and forgive me if I get it wrong, but it was a lady from the CBI, it was the head of the CBI talking about, it was a head of I&D from Vodafone, and they do a great mentoring program for female entrepreneurs in developing countries. And I think it was something like female entrepreneurs put back 90% of their earnings into their families and their communities. So to me, that's really important.
Jenny was nodding quite aggressively there. Yes.
Yeah, it's not all about money, and I think one of the things is that was really beautifully highlighted is there are different times in your life, aren't there? There are times when you might not be working for whatever reason, and your partner might be able to step up and support you, and there are other times where you might accelerate past them financially, and they will, and then you'll support them in different ways. And I think that's important to think about, that for different times in your life it can be different, but also not to think that this is temporary as well, not to rely on it being temporary. So if you go into a relationship and you are the main earner, that might be forever. And so to acknowledge that if that was forever, would that be okay? So I think there are different ways to think about it, but as women, men haven't found a way to have babies yet. They might do at some point. But right now, that does mean there's going to be a certain amount of time when we are not working or not bringing in income. And I think that's something so important for, the women who haven't had children yet to be thinking about. They're the main earner. What happens when I have children? How do I prepare for that? Will my partner want to stay at home? As one stay-at-home dad described himself, which I love, really lovely, he is the McLaren person, the pit stops, you go in, they change the tyres, they buff up the car. That's what he does when his wife comes home. Will your partner be willing to be your McLaren, buffer-upper while you earn the money? And these are conversations that you need to have. But men who don't feel happy about it, I don't think we should be so hard on them. We were all sold the fairy tale, weren't we? Isn't a handsome prince supposed to come up and rescue us and look after us forever? They were sold that same fairy tale. And so we're all working through it together.
So as we press for change, and as we press to be more powerful and passionate and better human beings who just happen to be women, should money be one of the front-running accolades that we hold on to? Should money be part of the purpose and part of the change? Or does that depend on the work that we do?
I'm happy to start on this.
Okay.
I think that the purpose comes first. You want the change, the work I wanted to do, the coaching that I wanted to do when I started my business, that was the driving force, not how much money I'd make from it. Then you have to make it viable because you have to live. And I don't think, if anyone here is running their own business, that you should be afraid of making money, because the more you make, the good things you can do with it. You can give to amazing charities like Dress for Success. I have a social enterprise, Rocking Your Teens, that that I put my energy and money and efforts into. And I'm sure that's the good thing that many women do and men do as well, which is actually when you have an abundance, you find a way to do something very positive and powerful with it.
Adia?
This is this financial kind of awareness and acknowledgement is so critical, I think, for women and men, but particularly women to have, because we are always typically giving of ourselves before everyone else. and then we're drained. And so financial stability can only come if you understand money and you have a mechanism or a system in which you use it. It's just something that allows us to do the things that we need to do. So having, a financial advisor or having those discussions, okay, how much am I allotting for this purpose? What's important? But the first thing before you get to the finance, I do very much agree that you have to understand the why. What is your why? It's not about the do. This is what I'm doing. We all do, but why do you do? And once you get the why, everything else really does flow from that. And I mean everything. I mean your professional life, your personal life, because what I call it is, and this fits into the financial box too, being in alignment with your why. So if I'm in alignment with my why, my purpose, then that means my finances are in alignment with that. Every single thing that I'm doing, because there's a bigger reason that I'm conscious of, and I move with the intent to honor that. So financially, we have to honor, right, what we are blessed to have, and that mechanism that allows us to be who we are and to contribute to the groups that we contribute, to mentor. I do a lot of work with the Links, which is a women's organization, and Juanita is my Link sister. And we're able to, I can't do that if I don't mind my business. So we have to take that power, so to speak, and make sure that we are cultivating our seeds, our monetary seeds, so that our legacy is ensured for generations to come.
I hear you and I totally agree with you. And as the world is changing and as women's voices are being heard more now, and as we are not just domestic goddesses, and I don't say that in any way, shape or form to offend any woman who's chosen to stay home and be a stay-at-home mother. I don't say that in an offensive way at all. But as we are opening ourselves up more to do the jobs, any job that we feel we can do that was perhaps regarded as a male job, is it a lot to keep all of those facets in place? The why, keeping in alignment with things, making sure, okay, you don't have children at the moment, so, that's going to be another factor at the moment, but that's going to be another factor that you're going to build in. Once upon a time, you had your children, you stayed at home. Once they were fine, then you went back to work. And organisations like yourself, which probably didn't exist as aggressively or as actively as they do now, it was probably difficult to go back to work. So you ended up doing a job for the money. Do you understand? There's lots to get into alignment. Do you understand what I mean?
I want to say something. So it is very, very difficult to come to a point. It is a process. It took me at least 8 years, probably 10, to really get clear. I mean, I had a vision, and I didn't say this, I should have said it. I was at a law firm in Chicago, a corporate law firm, a big firm, and hated what I was doing. Headaches, tension, all of that. And that led me to the igniting also, I have to leave this because I need to get to where I'm supposed to be. So I left that firm, I left Chicago, had no job. My mother, who is here, I'm so glad she's here with me. She did not understand at the time why I had to leave, but I understand her concern for my, my well-being. But I had to make that choice at the time. But to get back to your point, it's a constant process in terms of making sure that I am in alignment and what I'm doing makes sense for the why I'm here, and I struggle with that from time to time. I'm very clear on why I'm here, but you have life happen, right? And you have to adjust, and you have, family things, other things that come up, and they shift you, right? But the shift doesn't mean it's a permanent thing. It's something that you have to navigate the waters of life, but if you always look to that North Star, your purpose, then you'll get back there.
I'm very conscious that we are going to be wrapping up at a specific time because we need to be out of here at 9. And I hope all the ladies have had a chance to speak. Caroline?
Can I add something about those of us who have not yet and may never, because I'm not sure I will, find a higher purpose? I have to admit, and I'm going to be open with this, I'm in a corporate role and I'm really happy. I haven't found some magic higher purpose. I honestly don't think I have a book in me. Maybe someday I will. And I just wanted to say that actually that's also okay. Yeah. Yes. Please.
That's your path, and that's
also,
absolutely fine.
But I don't think it's my purpose. I don't feel quite so passionate about exactly what I do as most of the rest of the panel clearly do. But I'm not unhappy, and that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that the people here who are in more of a corporate environment know it's okay to be okay with that. And I wanted to add something on the finance thing on the corporate side. The finance, and your financial situation is really important, and about women pressing ahead. I would love it, and I think Salesforce has managed to do it really well based on what they've shown us today. I would love it if we could really trust equal pay for equal work, because then it would be off the table. If we all believed that you really got equal pay for equal work, we could spend all our time and our effort pursuing the next job up rather than trying to sort out the money in our current job. And I think that's much more of
Is a lot of time spent in your experience? Is a lot of time spent trying to sort that out?
I have to have that discussion with my line manager at salary review time every year, because there are two people in my team. One is male, one is female. They do the same job. They do not get the same salary. Every single year, I'm like, that's not right. They're like, okay, so we can only give the girl whatever percentage pay rise this year because the corporate policy caps it out. And I'm like, that's not enough. Fix it. They're like, okay, we found a way to do that again in mid-year pay rise, which no one else gets. I'm like, it's still not there. Fix it. So people who are in my position where you manage other people, we've got to call them out on it and make sure people know it's not acceptable. But until we get to the point of trust on equal pay for equal work, we're going to be spending our time worrying about the finance side of it and not focusing on our jobs, our roles, our next step, whatever that might be.
Thank you, Caroline. Does anyone have any questions for the panel? I would say use this time now. Just fire away. Anyone got any questions? Everyone's grinning, which is nice. Nina.
So a lot of you work with like kind of mentoring and coaching roles, both with, I'm imagining, women your age, but Jenny, I know you work with children. Something that I'm really curious about is, so I studied computer science. I started my career in IT consulting. So I started my professional life hearing from a lot of women about how hard it is for women and how much they've had to fight to get to where they are. And I was at Accenture, so very structured policies about how women are going to succeed. And now I've left that. I work in more creative industries, fashion, interior design, startups. And I look at the I don't want to call them, I've told them off for referring to women as girls, so I'm referring to them as women. But in their young 20s, coming into the office, and I'm like, I feel like I have to completely change the narrative, because I feel like they don't even have that in their heads. And sometimes I feel we're putting it in their heads, even though they don't have those barriers in the same way. And I know in certain industries they are 100% still there, but I just wanted your perspective. It's not even generational gaps. It's every 5-10 years things are changing. So what do we say to the young women that we're hiring now that's different from what our mentors said to us when we were going?
Would these be more millennials? Yeah.
I look at this girl that works for me, Nicole. If I told her anything about a man earning more money than her, it's just not even in her head. She just doesn't think that that's even a factor.
Jenny?
Yeah, so I work with young people and I work with women in corporates. I think you're making a really important point. I think for the young people, we are inspiring them. We're saying, look at these amazing role models in industries we never thought we could be and doing amazing things that we never thought about before. And I think we inspire them, and I think that's really important. I think that to be honest, what happens is everything is rosy until it's not. You know, these people that you're talking about, everything is amazing until it's not, until the first time they are discriminated against, or they don't get the promotion, or they come back from maternity leave and they hit a problem. So the question is, do we inform them before it happens and then it dulls their shine, or do we wait for it to happen and be there for them? And maybe it's both. You know, as someone who has, you know, my heritage is from the Caribbean, you know, my family came over from the Caribbean when they were in their teens. Well, my parents were in their teens. They were told, it's going to be harder for you. You're a black person. You need to work hard. I don't say those same words to my daughter. But in my head, I know there's discrimination around gender and around race. So I don't, you know, give her the same words, but I do try and prepare and fortify her for the fact that there will be obstacles in life, and there are for everyone. No matter what your background is, you're going to come across some obstacles. So I think there's something about preparing people, like this woman, like the people you meet, with the resilience to bounce back when they hit whatever they hit. And it could be many different things. I think that's what you do, which is not that the world is a terrible place, but you're going to hit some obstacles at some point. So let's help you be strong enough to bounce back when those situations hit you. Caroline?
I also go for a bit of upward management on this, because I think our generation is quite aware of the changes that are coming through into the workforce, and I find the generation above me in the workforce absolutely blind to it. And we can't change millennials. We shouldn't typecast them all as the same thing, but they are going to be a growing percentage of the workforce from here on. And I spend a lot of my time warning my bosses and my managers that these people are going to be like this, they're not going to shut up. And actually, as much as they need to be prepared for maybe some of the more old-fashioned bits of work and the disappointments and the discrimination they may face, it's also part of my job, as far as I'm concerned, to tell my management that this is coming. And you need to be ready for this, because they're not going to shut up and I'm not going to shut up about it. So I think it works in both ways. If you are in that situation in the middle, prepare the people above you as well.
Liz?
Hello. Privilege is blind to those who have it. So we work very closely with Dr. Kimmel. He does a lot of work around privilege and perspective. And for me, that's really powerful. And I think there is privilege to those young women that you're talking about. But there's also enormous role modelling that their courage and bravery and their energy can be role modelled up. But ultimately, it's about being aware of our or their privilege. And I think, again, I know I'm a raving fan of mentoring and conversation, but through dialogue, we can acknowledge the privilege that we might have or that they might have. And I think that, to me, is really important in all of this.
Do you want to add anything, Adia?
I just want to add, the millennials have a very interesting perspective, to say the least. And I've had very frank conversations with them. Because if you don't understand, right, you walk into a situation, and one of the things that I want them to understand is this is not a neat process. It doesn't go this is what I will do this month, and then in 6 months, and then this, and life doesn't work neatly. Life is circuitous, right? But they want immediate gratification. But at the same time, their ideas, their innovation should be harnessed and encouraged, because they help organizations. But there are frank conversations that we have to have on both sides. And I think when they understand that you're trying to understand them, then you start to see the connection. You start to see them kind of change from their driven kind of perspective, right?
My daughter's 19, and I've never understood her belief and her feelings of righteousness that she must have it now. But that's what these millennials are about. Do you know what I mean? Right, somebody had their hand up here. Hi.
Yeah, I just would like to say, if your young employees say that to you, remind them of the very stark fact that only 15% of
of global net wealth is held by women today. So that's 15%. So we do talk a lot about money, and I have a gender business, and it is really important for women to understand how money is still not in the hands of powerful women and will not remain in the hands of powerful women for a very long time. So it's very important that we see past some of the campaigns for, we have moved on, but the stark facts are that, there's still most global wealth is held by men. And that is a massive challenge that we all face. And I do feel that when we talk about power is in a capitalist system related to money. And when women hold money, they hold power. And currently, because we don't hold money, we have less power. It's very important to make that connection in the system that we're in now. We're in a capitalist system. I am very driven by purpose, but all my life I have been very conscious of the fact that I do want to be financially independent, because that has given me the choice to live where I want to live. I've never had to be with a man I don't want to be with. I have to choose. I can get to choose the right partner who does see me for who I am. And money is very, very important. And so is wealth, because it is power.
You need to do a seminar on money. You need to do a seminar on money. Lady behind you had her hand up as well.
Thank you. Millennials actually are 40. So most of us in this room are actually considered millennials. And just to your point, we're that middle ground. These are Gen Z coming behind us that want everything immediately now. We're the beginning of it. So I think you're right with the up change, but we're actually a lot of it as well. We have different behaviors. There's definitely a separation and change. But I think there's a lot of power that sits with us as millennials.
Lady in the burgundy cardigan.
Hi, just a different question. Tonight, the focus on the corporate sort of level of salaries is kind of obviously really empowering for women. I'm not in a corporate industry, so I'm kind of interested. I have a really responsible job. I work in education, and I have a lot of responsibility, and I actually make the university a lot of money, because I think I'm quite good at what I do.
No, you are good at what you do.
Thank you. So my question is...
Did you hear that female language there? I think I'm good at what you are good at what you do.
25 minutes, not feeling good. But anyway, feeling good tonight. So my question is, because corporate world salaries for women are considerably higher than what I will ever get if I continue in education, which I deeply I chose it. I didn't ever think about the salary. And I work for a really fantastic organisation in terms of it's got a great philosophy. I work for London College of Fashion, so we deal with lots of amazing, empowering projects for all of these different issues, and we do great things. But as a woman in this university, I will be stuck. I feel stuck. Salary, progress. I don't see how I will ever sort of almost be recognised for what I do on a salary scale. So I get great value from my job, but the question is, we've been talking about that sort of corporate salary, that corporate success. I'm looking at my future, questioning it right now, saying, do I stick with what I've been doing for a long time, where I know there will not be that reward financially, and I'm probably going to still be going to Tesco's like I did last night to get a ready meal that was reduced, because that's really the reality. So I'm just curious about how do we fight, if I was to analyse how much I make at the university, it would be a lot. I'm not asking for bonuses, but I'm just wondering, how do I fight for that recognition for what I do?
I would throw that to Jenny, but I think Caroline as well. No, I would have thought you would have had something to say about that, working with the team. Anyway, Jenny, go for it.
Just to say, I do a huge amount of work with universities. I don't know if you know about the Aurora programme by the Leadership Foundation. We've taken 4,000 women in higher education through this programme to help them move through the ranks and move into more senior roles, because not enough vice-chancellors are women. There's so few.
We do have a female vice-chancellor, and she is amazing.
But there's very few, as you know. So today I was with the 250 women who were on the cohort this year. Well, there's 5 cohorts. So there are things being done in higher education to help women move through the ranks. And I do advise you to find out about the Aurora programme. But what I'd also say is we've been talking a lot about purpose and what that means. And I think when we say that word purpose, everyone thinks we're going to be meditating or, whatever, doing something. To me, all it is knowing what your values are, what's really important to you, whether that's independence or whether that's being in service to the world, or whether that's compassion or whatever it is, equality, and then thinking, how much do I action those values on a regular basis? And it sounds...
Sorry, just butting in. I totally have purpose.
Yes.
And my colleagues have purpose, but last night again was doing emails till 11 o'clock, that is what I've been doing for 15, 20 years, because it's all consuming and you do it for the right reasons. But there is also a line where you kind of realise, gosh, what am I getting out of this? Because I've got a hole in my bath I haven't fixed for a year, and I'm probably never going to ever change some of these practical things. So there is that. I suppose it's about how do we get recognition for really fantastic sort of education and service, because that's what we do.
Yes.
And I just don't know that education has the probably the financial means to really reward in the way that all of the staff, from the cleaners to the cooks to the lecturers.
I think I just want to, what you're talking about, I think is really important, because you said, do I stay here? And that's why I went back to purpose, because you sound like you are on purpose in the work that you're doing. And that's why I wanted to bring you there. But that doesn't mean you can't get more for what you do. And, I don't think that everyone in higher education is suffering, financially. Some people, you're not going to earn as much as maybe you would if you, were doing something in global equity sales or something like that. But you can earn enough money to live. And I think that's why then you move past, yes, I am on purpose. So actually, what is it that I'm not doing? Am I keeping my head down, not shouting about what I'm doing? Do I have to understand more about what is recognised and rewarded in my institution? Do I have to go for bids for funding to get what I need to get in order to get more money? And that's when we move past doing a good job and keeping our head down, hoping to be recognised, to actually, I'm here, I'm making a difference, I need to be rewarded for it, or I'll go somewhere else where I'm still on purpose, but they value me. Yeah. So it's moving past the doing the good work to actually talking about doing the good work and demanding what you need for that.
I think you need to put a bit of an action plan together. And there were some questions over here. I'm conscious that young lady here.
I just want to bring the point back to millennials. As a millennial myself, I don't feel like we are completely oblivious to all of this that's going on, just because we have had the influences from yourselves as to what we can do to make changes in the workplace. But I think it's more about how we go about it and having that management above us to help guide us in the right direction. And I just wanted to know what your thoughts are on that and how we can go about that in the workplace, having just come out of university, not being able to find a job straight away in the field that we want to be in, but to actually have some sort of mentor to help us get in that right direction.
Can I just interject there before I throw you to the panel? When you went to uni, what was your vision?
I didn't really have one, and I still don't.
Okay. My daughter didn't know what she wanted to do. And Lord forgive me, you might all think I'm a bad mother. I said, don't go. Because you will go and spend X amount of your life not knowing what you want to do.
Yeah.
You will become independent, you'll get off my back, you'll learn to cook and clean and wash, and that's wonderful. But you're going to do that anyway. And you will come back in a lot of debt, still knowing not what you want to do.
Yeah.
And yes, a lot of my friends said, Angela, you just think because you're on the radio. And I said, no, but I just knew, I know my daughter, and I knew that she just wouldn't know what she wanted to do. Very, very creative girl.
Yeah.
As I was saying earlier, I can't get my head over how she wants it now. But when I stop being the mother, like my mum, and meet her where she is, her creativity comes to me. And we've just started discussing the fact that she actually wants to get into the makeup industry.
Yeah.
So she doesn't just want to go and work in a makeup store. She wants to create a makeup line for dark girls. So I'm now, as her mum, guiding her, when she lets me talk, guiding her and trying to get her on that road.
Yeah.
So I would be interested to know why you went to uni if you didn't know what you wanted to do. And please hear me, at 19, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And that was another reason why I said to my daughter, don't go.
Yeah. I mean, I do know what I want to do, but it's just finding that right thing where I'm completely passionate about it and that I'm happy in what I do, not just doing something for the sake of doing it. So I know I went to university to study marketing, to be in the fashion industry, and combining both business and fashion together.
So there's someone there in the London College of Fashion, there's a connection straight away.
But it's just finding that passion and making it into something that I really love. That's where I still feel like I still need to grow and still need to learn. Like, university does teach you things, but you can't learn everything at university. Like, you have to have those opportunities, to have those internships, and to get your foot in the door, which I have been lucky enough to have at the brand I'm working at now, where my director has let me come here and be here today. So I just want to know how the people above us can actually help us more to get those more
Adia, you look ready.
So one of the things that I always try to suggest to people, young women or young men who are just getting out of the university, and something that I learned later, I didn't know what I was doing, but that's what I was doing. So I call this getting your own board of directors. So every company has a board of directors that the president reports to, and that board of directors will give all kinds of advice on finance, on, the marketing function, the legal function, all the things that the company are doing. And it's like maybe, I don't know, depends on the size of the company. A Fortune 500 company may have 10, may have 15. But my point is, you are your own brand. And you need a personal board of directors. So seek and you will find. So what I did was, I said, I need to find people who are kind of doing what I'm desiring to do, I think I want to do. It's kind of like go and see. You go and see. So maybe you take a few moments and you do a vision board and you put, I think I want to do fashion, I think I want to do, marketing or whatever it is, and do research and find people who are engaged with those areas you think you want to do. And you know what? They'll talk to you. And they'll be happy to talk to you because people who like what they do, they like to talk about it. So you will be pleased. And a lot of people don't take advantage of, everybody wants to, okay, I know you're millennial, but you want to email people, you want a response. But how about taking the unconventional route? Find out where those people are talking, be present, volunteer at the organization that they're president of, and get in their face because they will remember you. And they'll say, this young woman, she's serious. And they'll give you their time, right? Time is also a currency. So you have to understand that people's time is just as valuable as the money. So I would get a personal board of directors, 3 or 4 people.
Okay, we need to clear this room at 9, and I was saying if we go on till 9:15, then that gives us 15 minutes to clear the room. Lady at the back.
Hi. I'm just going to try to point out one thing that Adia just said and answer the young lady's question about in terms of how we as the old farts might be able to help you. I think I just want to ask a question. Are there any HR people here? People involved with recruiting, HR, headhunters, like that sort of thing. I'm going to actually address this more to you because I think one of the biggest mistakes that this generation of HR decision-making resource management is making is focusing very silo their recruitment efforts. So I work in finance, I do mergers and acquisitions, but I was a poli-sci major. I sucked at math. I absolutely was a STEM loser. So if we are forcing every man, woman, child, whatever, to focus on STEM right now, we're basically excluding lots of really creative people who could possibly be involved in finance, who could possibly be doctors, who could possibly be pediatricians, who could actually get involved later in life in a career that actually doesn't involve science or tech or anything like that. And I think in terms of the idea of being kind of creative and helping yourself and looking for your personal board of directors is sort of allowing yourself to think, all right, I'm good at this. How can I apply this? Where can I apply this? And if you're a people person, for instance, you might be a great pediatrician. You never know until you actually try it. You could be sucky at math, but actually pretty good at getting strategy down together and getting two companies to talk and figuring out that actually M&A is pretty much an algebra equation, and just saying, actually figure it out, and then making big deals happen. And so I think if we kind of become silo thinking in our recruiting efforts, it becomes very exclusive. And so people from a younger generation can become very frustrated and disappointed and feel like they're excluded from the dialogue very early on, and I don't think that's very fair. So it's not really a question, more of a request to open up people's minds.
But also, you need to learn how to be part of the dialogue. And it's not just a millennial thing, it's not just a woman thing. It's something I've come across in business across cultural boundaries. You won't get what you want unless you figure out how to ask. And you might have to, you're in a foreign country, you might have to figure out a few words in their language to get the food you want for dinner. It is no different to figuring out how to ask someone in a business context from a different culture what it is. How to ask a man for what you want in language that is suitable for the situation. How to ask your boss, even if he's like 50 and ancient and doesn't really know what's going on in America's Next Top Model at the moment. It's figuring out what language to use in what situation to ask. And it is no different across any element of diversity. And I think it's incumbent on all of us. And I think this is one of the biggest messages I would send to the people entering the workforce now. Just like you would learn a language to ask for what you want in a different country, learn a little bit of the language to ask for what you want from the people who are there already.
But also teach them you
I was just going to say one really quick thing on that. So, and really lucky, Kirk, he's head of creativity at Google. I was talking about him earlier, and he talks about filling your mind with lots of boxes. So, in your personal boardroom, and Jim Rohn, kind of the writer, talks about we're the sum total of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So, how diverse are the 5 people that are in your boardroom? And you'll know that, and it's how you get curious. He talks about getting raging curiosity. Talks about how you can seek out the perspectives, opinions, guidance, wisdom of really different people that have different demographics to you, different professions to you. That, to me, is the biggest gift and piece of advice that I've ever heard. So.
Okay, I'm a baby boomer. And I started work when I was 16 in 1980, following some terrible career advice that a disabled woman was never really going to get a really good job. And it took me many years to get past the label that had been applied to me. So I did eventually climb up a ladder, But my ladder was up against the wrong building. So after 33 years, I left law enforcement and I started working for a charity. I'm now working for a second charity. Lady who asked about HR, I am in recruitment, but I head a recruitment program for volunteers. So the organisation, the charity I work for has 1,300 volunteers. And amongst the volunteer force there, I have met some women who have been seriously damaged by the script they were given and the role that they were told they had to play. And for many of them, they played it for many years. I recognise that because as a person of disability, I see that how difficult that is. What I asked the panel, because I left a really good paid job to go to charity work and just lose 20,000 of my salary because I wanted to do something outside of what I was doing. What I really asked the panel to do is, how do you encourage people who are not so much interested in the bottom line and the big salary to actually go out there and explore the wonderful world of the third sector, and where we're helping people and animals and we're campaigning for the environment and we're doing all this stuff? What do you feel is your social responsibility, apart from corporate stuff, to say to women, go out there and save the world? That's my question.
I think it's an interesting question. So you're saying that even though we have a responsibility to earn money, what's our social responsibility on top of that? Yeah, that's... Yeah. Mm.
We have a contract with Salesforce, and I wanted to improve my volunteer database because it wasn't suiting what we did. And I had a chat with our IT manager, and he said, Salesforce out in America have this program called VPIs, which is very important programmers. And every year, as part of your CSR campaign, you allow these people to take several months out of their work to go away and build a piece of software that will benefit non-profits, which is fantastic of Salesforce, but lots of other companies could also do the same. So a big applause to Salesforce. But, you guys are in such strong positions to actually say to the organisations you work for, okay, what are you doing to give your staff 5 days paid leave or 2 months paid leave to go and do something brilliant, and you will pay them to go and do that?
So let me clarify one thing. So just because we're on Salesforce, my favorite topic besides myself, is we call it VTO. It's volunteer time off. And every employee with their holiday, so you have your PTO, but we also get VTO every year. We get 7 paid time off days to go volunteer somewhere in the world. Okay, so I go to Africa. So I'll be in Africa at the end of June through July, volunteering at an orphanage. And I do it every year, sponsor a child, I get to see her every year. It's fantastic. And every employee, all 30,000 of us, can take 7 days a year to go volunteer somewhere in the world and do whatever tugs on us, which is fantastic. And it's unique. And we can donate $5,000 a year, and they'll match it, every employee, which it's unheard of what we're doing. And that's what we talk about, corporate obligation, and that corporate obligation to implement social change. And that's part of it. We try and live by doing.
Anyone else? I'm just conscious of time. You're nodding. You look like you want to say something. This lady here? No? Oh, okay. There are some hands up over here. Okay.
I might just quite like to answer that young lady's question as I understood it. Was it that you feel that
You're trying to find a purpose, and what people like us can, sort of higher ups, can help you with that? One thing I would say from my career, I always worked in finance. It was never my purpose, but it was always, I had that financial obligation because I did want to be financially independent. But something that happened in my life, I think the work I'm doing now, which is in the gender space, I have always been that person, even in my childhood. And I think sometimes in life, your purpose is always there with you, probably from a very early age, but it may take time to come to fruition. You know, you may not have time, there'll be times in your life where you're not able financially to pursue something with great purpose because you do have financial obligations. Roll with those times in your life and think, I know who I am, I'm doing this for a reason, I'm paying my mortgage, I have something higher. I would say to anyone, look back to your childhood, you will find what you're supposed to be doing. It will be on your shoulder all day, every day, but it will take time to come to fruition. And, you know, that is what I would say about purpose versus working to earn money.
I think we have to wrap this up. Anyone have anything to say just as we do wrap up? Anyone? Anything? Anybody burning to ask anything? Because once you go out the door, that's it. Here we go. I knew it.
I just want to say something that I did my first day back at Dress for Success yesterday, and I did a bit of mentoring, and I loved what you guys were saying about your why, and then you were saying about, you know, you're just happy to go and you love your job. And I think they're both purpose. I think it's all purpose. And just this idea we hear about women of power and stuff like that. And I kind of just wanted to say what a privilege it is to be volunteering back at Dress for Success, and to have sat with someone who's going for an interview. And I was sort of asking her about, in a way, the why, you know, ready for her interview. And she said, I just want to contribute again. And this woman was so humble. And when she left, I said, it was a real privilege to be with you today. But, you know, we're talking a lot about money and corporate. But this lady, she wants to be a carer. And that's her why for getting up. And my why for getting up yesterday was the time I spent with her, you know, the value that it adds to our lives. And I think there's a real thing about power in that it's all over.
I think we've got to remember we're all different. One size doesn't fit all. And it's so important that you feel open enough to say what you're saying. Caroline in corporate, happy. Jenny gave up. It's about what's in it, what's in here for you. What's in me might not be for you, but it's just about knowing that you're good, comfortable, feel enriched and peaceful where you are. And I think that's really important. I'm going to wrap this up. Juanita, thank you so much. I'm going to call on our lovely Salesforce guy, if you'd like to come and... I'm sorry. I was going to say Titus. I'm sorry. No. And I just thought, don't say anything. But no, it's been lovely. Thank you for allowing me to host this. Can I just say, one of the things that I noticed... from my kids were little, and even as a grown woman, there's 4 things that we all want. Doesn't matter how old we are, where we come from, what we've done. It really doesn't matter. We all want to be seen. We all want to be heard. We all want to be recognised. And at some point along the line, we all want to be rewarded. And I think that's really important. Doesn't matter how old you are. You've got little kids. Kids want it. Adults want it. And I think that's also part of purpose. Thank you very much. Thank you. Are you going to end there?
Thank you so much. Fantastic. Thank you, Angie. Thank you to our panelists. One more round of applause. I could just been a brilliant evening. I could stay here for another hour and it was the same way last year. We could have just stayed all night, but we can't. And so we will depart. But I just want to thank everyone again for not only supporting tonight's event, but every ticket that was sold goes towards the work that we do to help empower women. And I took notes tonight. I could take notes on everything that was said. But one thing that I think you said was, when a woman holds money, she holds power. And one of the things that we do, the primary thing that we do at Dress for Success, is help women become economically self-sufficient. because it is powerful. You change the trajectory, not just for that woman, but for her children, for her household. We know statistically you can change an entire generation by economically empowering a woman to be self-sufficient. So tonight was so powerful. I just, again, I could go on and listen to this all night, but I want to make sure that you're aware of the opportunity you have to take the momentum, the energy, and everything that we talked about and press forward toward progress beyond tonight. We have, in the back of your program, you'll see support our work. We have a new campaign that we're starting. It's called Sponsor Addressing. And so we have an opportunity for everyone tonight to make sure that you pour into, and we talked about the importance of mentorship and taking real action. And whether you have 7 days to volunteer, and not every company gives you that, Salesforce is awesome. But whether or not you have the opportunity to come into the boutique and pour into a woman's life one-on-one, you still have the opportunity to be the financial empowerment in her life. By sponsoring a woman, you can give 18 pounds a month, you can give 200 pounds for the year. Around 200 pounds is what it takes for a woman to go through our entire process for an entire year. That's all. And you can change the trajectory of a woman's life with that amount. And so I wanted to make you aware of that opportunity. We have things that we reward. We call it our success supporters. We reward you with VIP access to our pop-up shop designer sales, pre-sale access, so you get all the good stuff before everybody else comes. We have our fashion and philanthropy speaker series that you get free tickets to that. So there's a win-win for everyone. But tonight when we talk about pressing towards progress, we have the opportunity to really pour into the women that we serve. In the 3 years that we have reopened, we've helped 1,541 women. We have a success rate of 67%. And that's largely in part to our board, our volunteers, our staff that's here tonight, but also to the generous support of people just like yourselves. And speaking of support, we do have 2 more sponsors for tonight that I have to thank because we have wonderful cocktails that we enjoyed. So Skinny Brands is another sponsor that we need to thank. And then our wonderful photographer, yes, you, is Jay Shaw. Is our wonderful photographer here. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you so much. And it's opportunities such as tonight to further the dialogue and to match it with action. So please take the opportunity to take a look at that, visit our website. We were streaming tonight live on YouTube, so if you want to play it back, share it with your friends, please do. But thank you so much for coming out tonight. Thank you for supporting yet another year of Power Women. We will see you next year, and happy International Women's Day. Thank you. You can all mix and mingle now for the next 6 minutes as you are.